It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to this episode of Her Success Story. Today, I have a guest of a great woman that I've known for a whole bunch of years, Jennifer Urezzio. She is the founder of Soul Language and a master intuitive who uses her intuitive skills to help raise consciousness. Soul Language is a paradigm to put tangibility to the soul. She is the author of 2 books, both available on Amazon, and she'll share a little bit more about that. That will be in the show notes. More importantly, Jennifer is, like me, a lifelong entrepreneur. Neither of us are in our first businesses or first careers in our lives. And I think our conversation today is going to be really interesting to talk about how we have the right to evolve. Jennifer, thank you for joining me today.
You are so welcome. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so honored.
So we've known each other for a while, and I will say I did some work with Jennifer on a very personal level when I was evolving into stepping into my first full, starting to run events and bigger events and gathering 100 people at a time and doing full day teachings. And to master and conquer that, I knew that, and I still know, how important it is to be in touch with not just the outer actions, but the inner depth of yourself. So I love the work that you do. I've been honored to be a client of yours and honored to form a great relationship woman to woman over these years.
Yeah, I think I'm so honored, and I'm so humbled. I think it's really important, especially when we are doing that expansion, that evolving, that you don't do it in a vacuum and you don't do it alone, that you have support that you can turn to see things in a different way. When you're expanding, your consciousness is between 2 states. And so it's often hard to see something in the next level of consciousness. And so you need that support team member, that guidance person to go, hey, look where you're going, and oh wait, you just said that, but is that really what you want? And to really help you tune in and to remember to listen and to remember that you're whole and complete.
Yeah, and I love the remember to listen. So tell me, how in the world, share a little bit about one of my favorite questions that I ask, because I think it's always so interesting, is when we're kids, we have these visions that when I grow up, I'm going to be. And then at our stage in life, we look back and say, wow, how did we get here? This is kind of wild.
Yeah.
How did you get here? This is kind of wild.
It is really wild. I mean, I kind of always wanted to be a writer when I was a kid. I sat at the table with my mother's typewriter and did the newsletter, for the neighborhood. It was so funny. But I didn't start out that as a writer. I actually built my career in PR with not having to write, because when I went to school, I was told I was a bad writer and that, my spelling was bad and, I was never going to be able to put 2 sentences together and people would read them and listen and learn from them. And that really kind of shook me to the core. So I built a career in public relations about going, okay, so I pitched media, but I don't write a pitch letter, and I don't write newsletter, and I don't write this, and I don't write that. And I was so good in my job that I could just pick and choose and declare, which is so funny because when I started my own business, that kind of confidence and that kind of assurance went like out the door. And so I knew that there was something bigger inside of me. I knew that kind of the delivery system of what I was doing was off. I was miserable. I would get that Monday morning, oh my God, my pit in my stomach hurts. And at one point in my PR career, I wasn't allowed to talk to clients because I would keep telling them the truth. And, now I get paid to help people understand their truth, right? So I started out in PR, and I had this client who knew somebody who did hand analysis. And we were at a dinner, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but I know I need to have it. And that person was Beth Davis. And she came to my house and did my hand analysis, which is crazy if you know anything about Beth now. And she's like, okay, so your life purpose is you're a powerful healer and teacher in the spotlight. And I was like, okay, that's groovy. Yeah, totally resonates. But what do I do with that? And that started me on the road of really examining what that meant. And there was a couple off delivery systems until I hit on what I'm doing now. And, I'm still evolving what I'm doing now.
Yeah, so let's talk about. I want to go here for a little bit, because I started Slater Success, and I had this whole different vision, and I started writing this whole website. And when it was completely written, I looked at it and said, "Oh my God, I don't want to do this."
Yeah.
So, allowing yourself permission to move in a direction and actually learn it and embrace it, and giving yourself permission to reevaluate.
Yeah, I think it's really important. In fact, I created a whole tool around it called conscious evaluation, because I think so often we are in such judgment. And when things are off the mark, or when we're expanding, or when we're realigning, there's this judgment. And, around websites, like, they tend to be expensive, right? So you go, oh my God, I just spent all this money and it doesn't align who I am. And I'm like, put up a one page. Like, this is your opportunity. And you should, in quotes, be asking this profound question every day. It's like, what am I here? What is my sacred purpose? And that question should grow deeper and deeper. And you shouldn't be staying in one place, because that's not the evolution of human beings. And it's really about understanding and being kind with yourself. And when people go, well, your website says this, and you can simply go, yeah, I've evolved and here's what I'm doing. And I think it's really when you are so in alignment with your sacred purpose on an ongoing basis that people come to you, because they're coming for that. They're not coming for words on a website.
And, I love that you're going here, because I just have had this discussion, is people do business with people. They don't do business with websites. They don't do business with brands. They do business with people. Side note, I remember the first time I bought a pair of Asics sneakers. I used to wear Nikes. Everybody, why? Because the Nike store was right there. It was great, whatever. And I happened to put on a pair of Asics, and they were comfortable. I really liked them, right? But I tried them because the salesperson, I went to a different store. The salesperson was like, I really think you're going to, and I really liked our conversation. Based on our conversation and this human being who engaged me in a conversation, I was willing to look and try something new. And I didn't buy the brand. I bought a new opportunity to try something. And we have to remember that we get locked in. Oh my goodness. And that was not the first website I've done that never launched.
And it won't be the last.
And it won't be. Thanks.
Right? I think so often, I hear from people, listen, I heard your voice and I knew I had to talk to you. And that is about my frequency and aligning with my purpose, and really allowing that to be my red carpet for my community versus what I'm saying or what my website is. And I think so often people are so focused in getting it right that they're forgetting about their why, or what they're in business to be rather than do. And I think those are questions that you have to keep asking yourself, and you have to keep really fine tweaking that and really aligning your voice with your vision. We've all heard those people who say something and we don't know why, but there's something off. And that's because they're not aligned with their vision. They're not aligned with that internal process. And I think that's the key to being an ongoing successful entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs get bored easily. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, but it's true. We're highly intuitive. We're, renegades. We're highly innovative, and we're always kind of breaking things down and rebuilding them. And so we often see a new way of doing things, and that means that we have to continually evolve and accept that evolution, or that creates friction in ourselves and in our businesses.
And, very often entrepreneurs, people who are building businesses, we're also a highly creative mind. So if you're either growing and expanding your existing business, or if you're stagnating in your existing business, your mind's going to go to grow and expand something else.
Yeah.
And as we grow as humans, I'll say for myself, a woman in her good portion of her 50s at this point, I'm not the same woman who was a printer in her mid 30s.
Yeah, and I'm glad for it.
That business, right? And I'm very glad for it.
Yeah, I'm glad for it. I'm much different, much happier, much more peaceful, have deeper relationships than I did when I'm 25. I'll be 50 this year, right? And so I think that's really important. I think so often, there's this pattern of looking outside of ourselves to prove our worth. And I think, people who are entrepreneurs, people who are creatives, people who have spotlight in their soul, we also have this flip side about rejection and being part of the mass. And I think for, highly intuitive and highly innovative and creative people, you're never going to be part of the mass. You are always going to be out in front. And that's about being really thick-skinned and really sitting in that conviction and going, okay, so my not having a website is triggering your belief system. We're going to leave it where that being you and not me. And when we are so firm in our beliefs and our convictions, we are unstoppable freight trains. And I think that's the key to success in anything you are creating, is really being firm in your convictions. I am so firm in my convictions sometimes that with Warner, who's my boyfriend, I'll say something, he goes, I don't think that's right. He goes, but you're so convincing that I'm actually kind of need to go look it up because you're so like that sure. And, in those situations, it doesn't work for me, but in my belief system, it does. And that is what I think entrepreneurs should be working on a daily basis versus tweaking their website or, figuring out a business card or working on their key, their elevator pitch. All of those things are important, but that's not what's going to get you clients.
Right. I will always say to early stage entrepreneurs, go get your first 5 clients and you'll pay for your website.
Yeah. And you'll also understand in a bigger way your marketing.
Exactly.
Right? Because with soul language, if I identify 5 people, I know them on the core and I can understand how to attract more of those individuals. But for people who don't know everyone's soul languages, you are really just do the energetic lineup. What do they all have in common? Where were they when they started talking to you? Where were they when they left your presence? What did they say time and time again about your work? That's all marketing goodness. And I think people don't really harness that information enough because they're kind of stuck in these paradigms and they're, trying to follow these kind of Swiss cheese programs that don't suit them. Creatives will not be able to follow a Swiss cheese, just drop your thing in here program. They need that creative spark. They need to put their stamp on everything.
Right. So here is what you're referring to as a good example. I had a couple of years ago, I hired a designer, hired a copywriter. We're going to update the website. It was over 5 years, needed to be done. Okay. My business had evolved. It was 5 years later. Right. Good timing. And in the process, when it was done, I was in such an evolution that when I looked at the website and I shared it with like some close colleagues, they're like, who is this person? Even the pictures looked wrong. They're like, my sister's like, who is in the picture? It didn't look like me, right? And as opposed to, had nothing to do with the designer, the photographer, the copywriter, it had everything to do with me. And I went back and I said, okay, clearly I still need a new website. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go land my next 3 to 5 clients and keep a running record. So I wrote a lot of notes in the connecting to the clients, in the conversations, in our beginning of our work together. And all of a sudden, in that evolution, when we just launched a new website, that was so clear. This website came together spot on. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What have been some of the biggest challenges for you as a business owner in the evolution? This is not your first, so just guys, Jennifer shared that she's been in PR, but this is, Soul Language is not her first business. You've been a business owner for how long, my girlfriend?
I've been a business owner for close to 20 years now. Yeah. My first kind of venture was bath and body products. And I thought it would be really good. I loved working with herbs. I thought it would be great as a master healer. And I freaking hated it. I loved creating the one thing, but I was doing everything from the design of the packaging to the creative. I came up with this great idea of 12 months of beauty, still a great idea, where I would send a custom beauty product for you each month for 12 months or 6 months,
Ooh.
whatever you bought. Great idea.
Great idea. I'll sign up now, but who's doing all the damn work?
Exactly. I got a time out New York placement for Christmas.
Congratulations, and you got buried.
Thank you. And undercharged. So now,
of course you did, right? Of course.
Right now I'm making 100 custom products each month, crying because I've undercharged on shipping alone, right? And I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I was like, okay, what am I utilizing here that really is supportive, and what do I want to move into? And asking those big questions allows for something new to kind of come into your awareness, or you allow it to track something or call in something. So I was asked by Beth Davis to do a talk at her first conference about essential oils, because I write essential oil protocols for people and their life purpose. And I got off of that stage and people were lined up to talk to me. Can you tell me about this? What about this? Can you teach me that? Can I be your client? And I was like, okay, I don't know why. And all of a sudden I was dropped into a whole new business. And I took off. And from that conference also, I heard the first understandings of what soul language is. And I started downloading that paradigm. But yeah, it wasn't my first business. And even the thought, and I can see myself in the kitchen doing all, and I would lump them together. I would, do all the people who love citrus in one product. But I remember from the 1st to the 5th of the month, I was crying every day. And I just thought, business is not supposed to make you cry. Like, this is supposed to be fun, or at least I should be excited. And so, yeah, that once I made that decision, and once I accepted it, and once I understood that this wasn't a failure and I wasn't unworthy and all of that stuff, then, things shifted and something new came in. New things come in all the time. I ghostwrite books on the side, because it's not a side business at all. And that came from a need of, I said one day, I really would like to write more. And I don't feel this need to write another book for myself yet, except a fiction book, which there's little notes on my computer like, who is killed? And so, when you come in, it's a little strange. But, and all of a sudden someone was like, hey, I know you do this, or I heard you say this. And I was like, oh yeah, I could do that, right? I think so often we're told, don't venture out, because then you're kind of scattering yourself and you're not being focused. But I'm doing the same thing with book clients that I do with soul language clients. I'm helping them remember they're whole and complete as they create their vision and put tangibility to it. So, I no longer kind of cringe at the next evolution. I just go, okay, so how does this fold into my big mission? And do I really want to do this? I think so often highly creative people hear a lot of ideas that aren't theirs to carry out, and they don't do the check-in. And so I have a book of highly creative ideas that aren't mine. And, I'll be talking to a client, I'll be like, oh, I have an idea for you. And they're like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Can I use it? Yeah, because it's not mine.
So what has surprised you in your journey of being a business owner for 20 years, of coming to our place where we are now in our lives?
Everything. I think
Share more about that one.
I think, what surprised me, which was business related, but wasn't, was, my greatest desire was to have this, partner. And when Warner, now we're on our almost 4th year in late May, I thought, okay, so now I have this great love and everything's going to click into place, and, everything is just going to be easier. And I was really surprised that didn't happen. I think so often I'm surprised I forget, which is so funny. I forget that, oh, okay, so great, there's a plateau, and then my soul will want to experience more, and there's a nice evolutionary. So I think so often I'm caught a little bit off guard about the next evolutionary step. And then I think I always go, oh, I must be doing something wrong, but it's not. It's just an evolutionary step. And that kind of always surprises me. And then I laugh about it surprising me, because I think we often forget those experiences where we find painful.
So when, in the work that you do today, how do you see this impacting not just your clients, but where you are? Because having been an entrepreneur who started businesses, you're an amazingly gutsy woman, because you see something and you go. And I love that about you.
Thank you.
You see, it's like, oh, this is cool. Okay, let's go. Share a little bit.
I think the way it's mostly impacted me is that I don't think I've ever really feared let's going. I think there was no other course of action, which is strange, because so often I'll get the answer, well, how do you trust? And I'm like, there's just no other way. Like, I'm riding downhill. I think the most that it's impacted me, which is really, like, I might even cry about it, is that, I always thought that I wasn't smart. I always thought that I wasn't talented. And I realized just a couple of years ago how freaking smart I am. And, I've talked to soul language practitioners about this, and they're like, what? You doubted that you're smart? I was like, yeah, I did. I didn't think I was smart. I didn't think I was clever. I didn't think, I had a good vocabulary, and all of that stuff is a big fat lie. And I think I hit like 47 when I realized, oh my God, I'm freaking smart. And I think that's the huge impact of doing this work that has had on me. That lie that I was, told, that, I can still remember the moment in, I think it's 6th or 7th grade, where my math teacher was berating me because I didn't get something, and it's not that I didn't get it. I didn't get the way he was explaining it. Now that I know that, right? So Mr. Pratchett says, I'm coming after you next, but really, seriously, so that's the biggest impact.
And that happens to be, goodness, you're touching my soul today. You're touching my soul, because I hear and I felt when you shared that they said you couldn't write.
Yeah, and
and then you have this math teacher, and it's might have been our times of childhood rearing that teachers taught differently than they do today. Please, God willing, and I believe this is true, having seen the difference in my own children. But teachers in our generation were critical, judgmental, categorized, and based on my life experience, I'm not even going to say it, as you said, beautifully said it as I'm not smart. I classified myself as I'm stupid, I'm dumb. And I can't read, I can't write, I'm not good here and I'm not good there. Thank goodness at least I was an average dancer. I was never good, but at least I reached average there. And how that comes forward and plays in to the dialogue in the back of our head of what we can and cannot do in life. and achieve.
Yeah. And, it's astounding. And so often people will go, can I ask you a question? I'm like, of course. And they're like, well, I was like, you can ask any question you want, meaning there's no dumb questions. I don't mind explaining things 8 times. Like, let's explain it in a different way so you get it. Let me do a different metaphor. It's really important that people understand that, sometimes not getting it is a consciousness level, not a brain factor. And I think so often we're given these kind of redundant, I call them skill builders, people call them lessons, so we can invite more soul and more goodness into our body. I know that now. I didn't know that as a 7-year-old, nor did I know as a 7-year-old that my energy as the soul language teacher of integrity created this kind of in your face at the time, you're out of integrity. And that, if people aren't conscious or willing to transform or afraid of that, can often attack. I didn't know any of that then. I know all of that now. And that really allowed me to rewrite a lot of my history and go, oh, I can totally accept that this happened. And I can totally forgive myself and others for not speaking up. Because the other aspect of my soul is warrior. So, that part of me went, why aren't you fighting? Why aren't you yelling at them? Why aren't you telling them blah, blah, blah? And so it's really about being at peace with who you are and your abilities and your capabilities and expanding more. And I think when an entrepreneur does that, they are unstoppable.
So what tips, thoughts you have for our women leaders of today and tomorrow?
I think that the biggest tip I can give them is make every decision based on knowing that you're whole and complete. And if you don't know that in your core, then make the decision this way. If I knew I was whole and complete, what would I say? What would I do? What would I be here? I think when you do that, you will make decisions and you will create something that is a fortress and that has a life of its own. I think so often we make those decisions based on pain rather than based on truth. And I think that's the biggest tip I can give anyone in really being themselves. The other one is, listen, no one can take your power. No, you don't need to reclaim your power. It is there. So, simply ask your divine intelligence to show it to you, show you what it feels like, to help you access it, and then make decisions based there. When we look outside of ourselves to make decisions, they're always going to be a little off.
It's so true. The ability to touch in with our heart and our gut and get out of our heads sometimes truly leads us to beautiful, beautiful places in our world. Yeah. Including our businesses, our jobs, our careers. So I love that. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. One more thing.
Shoot, go girl.
Women tend not to ask for support. They tend to sit in it. They tend to, withdraw. They only tend to ask to support when it's so bad that there's no other option. Ask for support much earlier. Avoid all of the excess pain.
I love that. Yep. We don't have to do this alone. There's multiple fun, wonderful, loving ways to have support. Everything from, gee, have you reached out to a great girlfriend?
Yeah.
Is your, support within our families as opposed to doing everything. Support within all the emotional and deep work that gives such fulfillment and joy. So, and you are a great resource for that.
Thank you. I try. Thank you.
So how can our community stay in touch with you and know more about you?
So Soul Language, SOUL, language.us. I answer my own emails. I pick up my own phone. There's a lot of great free resources there. There's a newsletter, which I do a video log each day. My Facebook group is called Spiritual Renegades. There's over 330 people there that are highly innovative, highly creative, and really in touch with their heart and soul. So reach out if you have a question. Don't hesitate to email me or private message me. The thought of someone sitting there struggling alone is so painful for me. So reach out, even if it's just to say, I don't know why I'm reaching out, but here's what's going on. And do you have any words of wisdom?
Love it. And remember, listeners, to reach out and leave a little review of our interview today, as well as let us know what else you want to hear here at Her Success Story. We're here to serve you, meet and connect with great leaders, human beings, a lot of awesome women, and a few very fabulous men. Subscribe to Her Success Story. We drop into your inbox every Monday morning. Thank you for joining us here today. See you next time. To shine.